Welcome back, everybody, to Ravenstar's Witching Hour. I'm your host, Solaris Blue Raven, and I'm here with my very special guest, Nancy Hopkins. And Nancy, you with me?
I certainly am.
Yay! I'm so happy to have you on, let me tell you. It's great. And I was going to ask you, is it okay to take a shower with the shungite on?
Oh, absolutely. And you don't have to clean them. You don't have to put them out in the sun. You don't have to do any of that.
Okay, so it's okay to get them wet, and it won't really wear them down too much, I suspect.
No.
Excellent. Very cool. You know what really was interesting when you were talking about how with the astronauts and how I guess we lose the electromagnetic field when we're above the Earth. It makes me wonder if that's because our life force comes from the Earth itself.
Yes, exactly. Now, I'll tell you, now they have what they call a Schumann resonator on all spacecraft that have human beings on them to mimic the field.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why they can stay up there now.
That's pretty interesting. I just found that very, very, very interesting indeed. And also, let everybody know, so your books are also available on your website, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Excellent. Okay, are they on Amazon too, or just your website?
No, they're on Amazon too. It's Cosmic Reality, and there's another book called The 9/11 Crusade that's a novel. And it basically, tears the 9/11 fiasco story apart. But
Wow.
It doesn't, because I'll tell you why. As I tried to, as other very, influential people tried to tell the American people that 9/11 was, not what you were told it was, people would numb over and they didn't want to hear it. And so I wrote the novel in the hopes that somebody who could say, oh, but this is only fiction, could understand why seemingly evil acts could be done by people that thought they were acting in a very positive and good way, because of the concept of collateral damage.
Right.
If you accept collateral damage in any environment, then it's evil. I don't care what your excuse is, and it goes back to the end justifies the means. Well, no, it doesn't, because we're capable of our dreams. We're limited by our doubts. We are crippled by our fears, and we become the why of our actions. So as long as you have the excuse that the end justifies the means and you continue to do that, it's still the why. Why did you do this? Because you thought that you were more important than anybody else, and we're not. And that's the real key to understanding cosmic reality as being reality is what we think it is, and majority rules. Because if you understand an energy universe, then you understand in a very core way that every single human being out there is affecting you. And so every human being out there is extraordinarily important, because it's like a symphony. And if you've got one horn that's really blowing bad music, it's going to screw up the song.
Right.
So you have to have a totally open heart, and even understand that people that seem to be doing evil may not necessarily be doing evil in their own mind. They're making decisions like a lot of the lower level in all the black fields, and a lot of out there scientists that understand, because there's a scientist who was really credentialed, and he told an interesting story about a friend of his, a doctor who was given a federal contract to investigate the dangers of Wi-Fi. And he was telling his friend the parameters, and how long do you think it's going to take me to do this study? And so this guy said, well, I don't know. Based on what you said, 3 to 5 years. He said, that's going to take 30 minutes because they already told me what the results are. There is no danger. And now I have a decision, he says. I either blow the whistle and therefore never work again. My children don't have a future. My life is just about over. Or I keep my mouth shut, because even if I open my mouth, nobody's going to pay attention. So he kept his mouth shut. And that is a legitimate concern by so many people. But one after the other, they're coming out. More and more is being released, because, in my opinion, we have changed reality. And I'll tell you, do you remember back in, it started up at the end of 2010, but by 2012, you'd heard so much about the event. Okay, everybody had the event, but nobody could give you definitively what it was, but they all knew exactly when it was going to happen, only it never happened. Well, then the different sources talking about the event started talking about the event would happen in the spring of 2014. And in 2014, shungite arrived on the American shores, and that was the event. Because since then, there has not been any mention of the event. Shungite is the event. And that's what we find so exciting. Because none of us are that intelligent or imaginative that you would think that, okay, this consciousness called Gaia is going to give these human beings this stuff called shungite that can, in effect, take all of the system that they have built to control us, and simply by putting it on telephones and on computers and on routers, it's changing the entire system.
Right.
Now, I know that the entire system in the state of Florida has been hijacked. We call it hijacked because we've got these things all over the state. You know, there's shungite generators. We've been sending shungite generators, shungite devices all over the state. Plus, now we've got the Band-Aids, which, you know, they're all handmade. We will never manufacture these. They're all handmade. And the people that are hand making them can't even get them to me because they're giving them away so fast.
Wow. Yeah, I believe it. Well, especially in a world like this where everything is pretty much going into the transhumanism, you know, everything's becoming electrified to some degree. So, yeah, this is excellent.
I know when we got the Bucky Band-Aid, I said, and they started up with the transhumanism thing again, I said, all right, no problem. Just stick these things on everybody. Don't take a chance.
Better get some, make them into earrings too. That'd be a good idea, wouldn't it?
Well, I wear them in my shoes.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. When I had, way back in the 90s, I had another energy thing that was concocted that was called Nectar. And we worked with a number of doctors and a couple of universities. Actually, Nike got involved in the shoe company. And we were able to show that if you put certain this nectar energy in your shoes, you would be a better athlete. Or you would also not have any stress. And so we proved all this out, you know. So as soon as I got the Bucky Band-Aid, I thought, oh, I'm going to try that in the shoe. So I put it in my right foot, one of them, and I immediately felt my entire etheric body go out of balance. So I got the other one, I put that one in there, you know, and I said, oh, okay, cool, you know. And I immediately went into a state of, oh, my God, I got to lay down. I'm so tired. And so I took the shoes off, laid down. I said, no, it's the shoes. Put them back on. Same thing happened. So the third time, I just went straight outside and I started working. Now, I was cutting down this tree, and the tree was fine about it, you know. But because you always have to whittle down on this tree. It's a ficus tree. It grows like a weed. So I'm out there, and what I noticed was that the tree limbs did not seem as heavy to me. And I'm pulling them over to the pile, and then I'm throwing them about twice as far as I normally do. Now, and I know it was the shungite. It just boosted my entire system to that point. It didn't give me any more stamina. I didn't stay out there any longer than I would normally. In fact, it was probably somewhat less. And it took me a few days before I would get over that initial putting the shoes on and having that initial, oh my gosh, down thing. You know. It's these things are so powerful and so interesting, and whereas the plates, the shungite plates on the cells, the cell phone things, protects the individual and the individual phone, these things actually start to take over the electric system and the Wi-Fi system, because once the field hits the shungite and it starts to reverse its field, okay, it starts to spin the other way, what happens is that the next portion of that field resonates to what's happening with the shungite entwined field, and it starts to reverse. And it's called resonance. Right. And you don't normally see that on an entire field. We know that if you put a nugget up on a fan or something that, like your AC that's coming into the room, if you just put a nugget, hang it in there, it will start the air spinning. All of a sudden, the air is going to feel weird. If you take shungite and you put it in your refrigerator, the food in the refrigerator is going to last much longer. It's going to be healthier for you. Why? Because the field of the shungite is changing the field of the food.
Right. Wow, that's so amazing.
If you take three pieces of shungite and you take, well, the best is the aluminum tape, but you can use duct tape. Everybody's got it. You take the three and you put them end to end, and then you tape it to your water pipe. You will energize your water. You won't even have to put the nuggets in the animal's bowl or in your glass of water, but you're still going to want to do that. Mm-hmm. And you can also put it on. Well, we've got Bucky bags, and they were weighed out, and we weigh them real heavy. But if you put them on your router or something that's always on, even a clock radio, that will remodulate your electromagnetic field in your house, your electric system. Mm-hmm. And that bleeds out into the room by 4 to 6 feet. So if you don't have any protection, 4 to 6 feet in your room, you're going to be anywhere you go in that house, you're going to be in that field.
Right.
Of course, the smart meters now are even more dangerous. And this guy that I was just telling you about with his friend that kept his mouth shut, he was also saying that, no, I understand because of electronic warfare understanding. Mm-hmm. I understand that when that smart meter, so what people don't understand is that the smart meter actually sends a pulse into the house every 15 minutes or something. So it comes into the house, and it's called a carrier wave.
Right.
And it goes through the house, and then everything that is on is going to change. It's going to remodulate, make it look different, that carrier wave, just as a carrier wave sending my voice to you is being remodulated because of my voice. And then on your side, you've got something that will receive it and then take off that modulation to make it sound like I'm talking to you. Mm-hmm. The carrier wave stays the same. Same thing with the smart meter. So it comes in, it can tell every single thing that's on in your house, or whether it's not on. But what this guy said to me or didn't say to me, he wrote about it. It was an interview. And he said, and I'm sorry, I should have looked at, well, I never know what I'm going to talk about, and I have to go back and look at my details, because I'm a concept kind of person. So
right.
I apologize for not having these names.
No worries, and we'll have you back for sure. So.
And what happens is that when the smart meter comes in now, he said that they can actually send back what the hormones are in your body, what level they're in your body.
Wow.
Whether you're under stress.
Hmm.
So when you think in that terms, you're going like, oh my God, how intrusive is this stuff?
Right.
But when you got the shungite on it, it takes all of, just like I said with the implant, it changes the modulation.
Right.
So when this stuff comes in, they may still be getting the information, but it's not hurting us. And I don't think they're getting the information.
Oh, I like that. I'm going to keep my necklace on for a while.
No, seriously, I just, again, so much of this is the key to the step in getting control over your own dominion and over your own being is to ask questions, not to accept everything. Right. And you have to make sure that when you ask the question that you're willing to accept the answer, because some of the answers are screwy.
Right.
And but you have to be able to ask question. That's the difference between me and 90% of the universe. Is I am obnoxiously always asking questions. Mm-hmm. And if you ask the question, the universe will answer you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what I've noticed and I'm sure you can identify with this from your past, but I've noticed that they run interference with transmission through the technology, whether you call it electromagnetic pulse weapons or whatever they're deploying at this point. But obviously there's a lot of that going on. And that's what I'm feeling insofar as, especially where I've been, is the interference.
Mostly it jams up your system because every human being has a very specific frequency. There's nobody else in the world, in the universe, and creation that has the same energetic makeup that each individual has. Mm-hmm. That's just because of the concept of space and place.
Right.
So when they are putting, what's the difference between myself and the average person out there? Why has my mind never been clouded by any of this stuff? It's because my frequency they can't get to. Mm-hmm. Right. And I'm not alone. That's why we're in the position of winning now. because they couldn't get to everybody. So if they want to target you, then they analyze your signal to know what they have to match it. It's sort of like if you've got a jammer, that's a nice thing. If you've got this frequency that will jam the other guy's radio. And it's the same sort of thing. You have to become very specific. So they can put out general malaise like, oh, everybody feels like they got the flu. But to actually get into somebody's mind and begin to do the programming, they have to know what your frequency is. So if they can't get a read on your frequency because you're in a Shungite environment, duh.
Yeah, nice. Sweet. That's awesome. Well, so what about the targeted individuals? So what about people who have been suffering from electronic harassment? Would this help them take the relief? Maybe kind of help them a little bit?
What do you mean by electronic harassment?
I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of the people that have been suffering from constant harassment with whether it's cell phone towers or other types of technology, which literally harasses them through like dialogue harassment, where they're hearing synthetic telepathy type, communications, mock radio, that sort of thing, where they're literally being tortured 24 hours a day. Are you familiar with that group of people?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I wasn't familiar with the term.
Okay.
Well, again, it comes down to the fact that the only reason that these things are successful is that the human being has not claimed dominion.
Okay.
All right. Now, that seems real simplistic, but it's not if you think in the terms of energy. Walt, myself, have been working on developing a series of devices based on spirals and shungite that match different frequencies. Because, as Walt likes to point out, when he started out, everybody said, oh, well, you got to get to a state of joy, and you got to get to a state of love, and you got to get to a state of compassion. And then they'd say, but you have to be a person who is, got taken the vow of poverty and wants to live alone on some mountain. Then you can do all this. And it was very kind of like, okay, that's what you want to attain, but it seems impossible to do so unless, of course, you follow this one guru that's going to take your money and lead you down that path. Anyway, that's not what it is. It's energy. We understand its frequencies. So now, if I tell you that we are building a new reality and we're putting in different energies that are yours for the taking, such as joy, such as love, such as compassion, such as the getting rid of the fear of scarcity, the frequency of abundance, the frequency of purity, the frequency of peace. There's a whole slew of them, and the way that we're getting this information is through Walt, who is a practiced and very excellent shaman tripper, in that he goes to the other side and he brings back information. Now, when he does it for people, he asks the people to give them permission to talk to their guides, and he goes on a journey for them and comes back with information that their guides need to hear. When he does it for me, it's mostly, or himself, it's mostly like, what is the frequency of, no evil? Now, this was an interesting one, because I said, is there a frequency for no evil? So he goes into, because he also uses pendulum work to talk to the guides. And so he came back, and what he had found out was that no evil is, and it's all based on how the length of the wire in the spiral. And the no evil was a specific length. And when he looked at it, he said, wait a minute, I've seen that before. And it's the exact same length as compassion. So if you're in a compassionate energy field, you cannot feel evil.
That
Okay.
makes sense.
All right. So when these people are trying to get through to into your head, they're getting into your brain. They're not getting into your mind.
Right.
The brain is a mechanism that's based on, it's like a simplistic computer. It's like, a little laptop compared to a big computer. And your mind is this huge computer. It also, you can actually break it down to the fact that On the left side is your brain, and on the right side is your mind, if you want to think in terms of that. In reality, we know that the vast majority of mind activity occurs at the heart, in the heart. The heart puts out the strongest electromagnetic field in the body. It has neurotransmitters for long and short-term memory. It sends more information to the brain than the brain sends to it. And if you want to take control over your own beingness, it is a trick of putting an image in your head and then sending it into your heart to be, boom, blown into the manifestation realm of proto-energy.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Yeah, and of course with the neural interface, that's like you're talking about, that's the interface between the brain and the neural activity and of course artificial intelligence, which is what I was actually interfaced with, by the way. So that's what I mean. It was hardcore. It wasn't one of these little cutesy things. That's why I've been trying to disable that for about 10 years now. So just to give you an idea.
Well, and that's why it's so difficult, because they're inside controlling, but you've got to be able to control that.
Yeah, I've learned pretty well to ride the technology, but I have to tell you, I don't like it. And, I've been trying to disconnect it personally. It's just because I feel like it's bleeding my energy field.
Okay. What Walt has developed and tested, and then I tested it, and he got to the point where we were talking to our audiences and we were explaining all about Shungite and all about reality control and change and da-da-da. And he said, we got to give them something that is concrete, like something to do that will make this stuff happen. And I said, okay. And so then he, figures it out, and he comes back in the next show and he said, okay, listen to what happened. And I keep trying to tell everybody that these negative thoughts, first off, there's an energy out there that will prevent you from holding a negative thought in the new reality. And so Walt is on his way to the post office. He knows he's only got like 5 minutes to get there, and the traffic is backed up. And he goes, oh, man, I'm not going to make this. And he went, no, that's a negative thought. So what he did was interesting. He imaged a new reality. And in his new reality, he saw this negative not getting to the post office thing like a piece of glass. And he took out an imaginary hammer and he smashed the glass. All right? So he went through this whole imaging process. And he looked up, and the car in front of him had pulled out into traffic, and then he followed him, and he got to the post office on time.
Nice.
So then he took it, and he did it with cold, because I think he must have froze to death in a past lifetime, because the guy is just terrified of cold. And he did the same thing. And what he calls these things that he's smashing are energy contracts. Nice. All right? So what you need to do is you need to imagine an energy contract that is vibrating as if it was glass. Okay, everything is energy. Think in terms of energy. You're going to be fine. So it's like a piece of glass, but it's an energy contract that you have with these people that are doing this to you, with a system. Think about the system, because these systems will respond to human beings a lot faster than a human being will to the human being. So what you do is you look at this and you think of that whole system being an energy contract that's now within that glass. Take out your hammer and shatter it, and don't ever think about it again. Nice. I like that. Really do. Let us know what happens. I certainly will. Yeah. I'll be calling you. Well, he said to me in the same, the next breath, he says to me, and you know something, Nance? He says, nobody, not a scientist, not a doctor, can tell you what causes the human being to start aging or anything else. He said, it's an energy contract. I said, got the image, got the hammer, boom. And the next morning I got up and I looked in the mirror, and I got to tell you, there was a change in my face. Wow. And it's like, so I'm like, because I tell people these things, because the more people that try them and find out that they work, and come back and tell the rest of us, we start using it, they get more and more powerful. I agree. I so agree. So do you offer healing sessions? Oh, I don't personally, no. You don't? Okay, I think you'd be really good at it. No, 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 no.
Counseling, you don't do that either?
Nope.
Wow. Because
Oh, well, my counseling is my books and my writings.
Great.
I
Yeah.
do a lot of blogging on cosmicreality.net.
I love it. Well, I've got to read your book. I have not. I must confess, I haven't read your book, but now I definitely need to read your book.
Well, the first book is available free. It's a PDF.
Oh, cool.
Because when I put it up, see, I put it up on the internet, and it'd been up there for many years. When I was listening to Good Morning America, when I was working, I'd listen to it as getting ready for work, and they were talking about the Freemasons, and somebody says, and somebody on the internet thinks the Freemasons were responsible for the death of President Kennedy. And I said, well, that might be me, because that was what my first book was about that's been up on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
It's called The John Kennedy Jesus Christ Connection. So then about, I would say not more than a month, and I don't even think it was a full month, I get a call from somebody that was a fan of mine, and they said the book was not online anymore. And I went in, and by God, they were telling me the truth, because somebody had gone in and hijacked a major, major internet server and took off that book. None of my other writings, just that book.
Wow.
So that pissed me off, and that's when I started the second book, which is called Down the Rabbit Hole.
Mm-hmm.
And then I published them in the October of 13 under one cover, Cosmic Reality. But the first book is still available as PDF because it's always been free.
That must have hit a nerve, huh?
Somebody didn't like it.
Well, that's really interesting. Yeah, you always have to wonder. That's kind of good. I mean, obviously, you're familiar with the magnetic field of the planet weakening, or so they're saying. What's your impression of that?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean,
Right.
The measurements are saying that it's weakening.
Right.
But what they're not seeing happen. See, okay, like for instance, there's more and more children are being diagnosed with all these weird diseases. Well, the reason they're being, have these weird things happening to them is because they've got more DNA in them.
Mm-hmm.
The DNA is changing. So finally they came out and they said, yes, this person does have 3 strands of DNA. Another example is Caputo. Teresa Caputo was the Long Island medium.
Right.
She was on Dr. Oz's program, and they put it looked like a swimming cap on her hair. I couldn't believe she let him do it. And it was reading her brain when she was just talking to him. And they get this picture of her brain all lit up. And then they continued to monitor it when she was in a psychic state talking to spirit, and the brain was absolutely dark. There was no light up. Mm-hmm. Now, does that mean that her brain turned off? No. What it means is that the measuring devices are not designed to measure faster than light speeds.
Mm-hmm.
So basically that's what it all comes down to, is that in order to measure something, you have to have the device to be able to do it. And in cases of faster than light, where you're dealing with spirit that's faster than light. See, the whole 3D universe seems solid to us because it's energy vibrating at the same speed. So, comparatively, it looks like it's solid,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not. It's, there's only 90% of it is empty space, everything,
Right.
including your cells.
Right. And I suspect that once you start working with the shungite and it starts working with you and resetting the body, so to speak, it resets the entire multidimensional design.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Would the multidimensional design be reset along with like the regular 3D body on this planet and the illusion of planets, of course, and then we're simultaneously existing on a multidimensional level, perhaps? So would that exist or actually heal or assist in all timelines or on all timelines?
The shungite?
Yeah.
We know that the shungite has, well, let me put it to you this way. When Walt would go on he got introduced to shungite. He heard myself and JP talking on a show. He gets introduced to it. He starts playing with it. And he goes on a shamanistic journey, and he's now, instead of putting crystals at the bottom of his feet, he's used shungite. Mm-hmm. And he was told by the guides that he could not go into a spacecraft with shungite because shungite was so damaging to the spacecraft.
Hmm.
So whatever shungite is, it is magical beyond belief.
Uh-huh.
The more we learn about it, the more it just people come here and they have all sorts of mystical experiences. Now, I will say that the concept of us being on multiple dimensions and multiple timelines is all very true. But the key is the timeline that you are paying attention to. Mm-hmm. You know, all of those other timelines are existing, but you really should just pay attention to the one you're on. Mm-hmm. And that's where we came to, was that we didn't like the one we were on. We thought it was kind of sucky, you know.
Right.
So we decided that we were going to create our own reality. And we began to do that by the very fact that we said, well, if reality is what we think it is, all we have to do is think of a new reality and then get enough people to believe into it, and that reality will become the dominant reality.
Right. And that's what they're doing right now with, that's what they've been doing with quote unquote, corporate government, is trying to control the mass collective.
Yes. And they have done so admirably. Mm-hmm. They've done a really good job of it.
Right. Yeah, totally.
But that was the problem, was that we knew that we could fix everything. But we were like, it's so tedious to fix something. Why don't we just throw that away and start over? So we concertedly, we talk on it, this show. You can go back to all our shows and you can hear the history of us building this new reality. And what's now obvious is that there is a new reality.
Right. It's energy.
You know, we're taking full credit for it because we've been saying you can do this. And do you want to believe us that we can create a new reality, one that's based on all these wonderful energies? Or do you want to continue with that reality that says everybody is basically going to be all burnt up or die or disease or whatever, and,
right.
And you're never going to be free, and you're never going to feel who you are, and you're never going to know about dominion, and you're never going to know about how powerful you are and how happy you can be? Do you want that?
Totally. It's consciousness in motion.
Yeah, just come on over, play with us. We're nice people. We have a lot of fun doing what we're doing. And we absolutely hold as a badge of honor the fact that we are absolutely crazy. We are not normal. We will not adjust to that, crazy matrix that says that we can't do everything we're saying we're doing.
Right. And you have a few questions here in the chat I was going to read off to you. One's from Olive here at 2M. It says, ask the guest, could she talk more about the frequency she has and how the archons cannot touch her? I don't know if you mentioned archons or not. Yeah, that's what he's asking. He doubled that. But does that make sense? I guess he's trying to basically say, I suspect obviously you're protected. You're not getting impacted by negative entities, disembodied spirits, or what we call archons.
No, I'm not. And nor have I ever been.
Okay.
Well, that's not exactly true. I think that certain people come here. Well, okay. I was on a timeline in 1992 where we were ascending. There's no doubt about it. It's in the book. Okay, I talk about it. We were ascending. And then I suppose so many others like me, were made aware of the fact that we could ascend with no further ado, or we could jump timelines and try to stop this horrendous timeline that was still in manifestation. Mm-hmm. And so I decided to jump timelines, and I suspect they decided to jump timelines. And in doing so, we were put under a special protection frequency-wise because we were really jumping timelines. We had knowingly come from another timeline. Mm. Now, the timeline was absolutely the same. The people are all the same. Everything's happening. But once I made that decision, everything in my life changed. And, I ended up over here in this timeline. But I think that that's where the frequency difference is, that in me,
right.
And like I say, so many others, that we can operate without being affected on this particular timeline because it's not really the one that we were paying attention to.
Right.
When we got the option. And so that's part of it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I remember so many powerful ascension energies descending down in the 90s, big time. And I received a lot of initiations back then, too. Really powerful stuff.
Yeah, it was like, can you go to the other side with, with this still here? And it was
right.
No,
yeah. Well, it's interesting how the light body, what we call light body, builds up. And, of course, that that to me is a different vibratory rate than what most people have if they haven't done the work on there. But it's all very fascinating. I did have another question from Jer Bear. I guess I think you might have covered this already, but he's asking, why does she wear it in her shoes, the shungite?
Oh, because of the fact it's reflexology. All of the acupuncture systems end in the feet. Mm-hmm. That's why when you rub somebody's feet, you can actually do much tremendous healing because it's the energy body. The acupuncture system is okay. You got the physical body, and you got the etheric body. You've got the astral body, your emotional body. You got your mental body. Mm-hmm. But the physical body and the etheric body are merged within the same space. So what happens is the acupuncture system, which can be actually traced and monitored, okay, as a system, is the 3D slower than light speed image of the etheric that's working a little faster than the speed of light. So when you put them in your feet, when you put energy in your feet, it's coming up directly into your entire etheric system without any kind of hesitation. It's just like the best place to get this into you. But the other thing about the shungite in the shoes is that every time you step down on it, you actually cause a slight piezoelectric charge so that it bursts, boop, 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 every time you step on it.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah, I suspect it'd be very grounding, if everybody's been on their computers.
Very grounding.
Yeah. What about shungite in pyramids?
In my opinion, even though the shungite is getting more powerful, regardless of what kind of a shape it's in, anytime you machine a mineral to the shape of a pyramid, the essence of the basic frequency is altered. It's dulled. Mm-hmm. But when you put it in the shape of a pyramid, then you have the added energy of the pyramid. Now, the problem with what I'm finding out there is that they're offering these pyramids, but when you get them, you realize they're not to specification. Mm-hmm. And you can tell that immediately by turning them over and looking at the base. Are they square? If they're not, they're off.
Right.
So I don't recommend people spending their money there. Mm-hmm. If you're gonna go into shungite, go into the raw product. And of course you can get the raw product from me.
Right.
But we're on a mission. I mean, right now, today I spent the day writing the bylaws for a nonprofit organization. It is a sacred mission to us to get shungite to the masses. I have not made a cent on the store, and we've broken even. We're in the black. We've been in the black, but we really feel that this is a mission that has been given to us by Gaia herself. And it's an intriguing thing because this little mineral is going to take it all back. Oh, come on, give me a break. Who thought this one up? And yet it keeps proving itself to us. So, yes, and I have been and I will be until we get ourselves into that nonprofit condition. It's hard to find us on the internet because I have specifically kept us from being what they call enhanced search. Mm-hmm. Because I didn't want to I knew when we started this out that we were probably 3 months ahead of the game. And I didn't want to start feeding the frenzy that was going to happen. I wanted people who heard me talk or heard of me, came to my site because they understood that we have something that we consider sacred. Mm-hmm. And so, and that's again, from a very selfish, energetic standpoint. When you have a lot of people getting something from the same source, you have a quantum entanglement. Mm-hmm. It's an energy entanglement.
Right. And, well, it's certainly needed. Like I said, in a world like this where everything is technological, we definitely need something like this to balance it out. And Steve Travesty had a quick question here for you also. He said, ask if she knows about the shape chestahedron. No,
I don't.
Okay. All right,
I'm
Steve.
Looking at the word. I've never seen it even before.
Hey, I don't know if it comes from a sci-fi or if it's real. You can elaborate. Text me, Steve. So very, very interesting. Yeah, I'm really interested in working with the shungite for sure. And like I said, I've been wearing the necklace, so we'll see what happens. Now, you said you could put these on animals. Obviously, you can put them on the collar.
Yeah, we have an item that's either a pet pendant or a keychain.
Mm-hmm.
Because in both cases, you need something that's really rugged. The wire that we use in the pendants is really copper wire with an enamel overcoat, which an enamel is glass. So it is highly conductive. Copper alone is very conductive, and also it holds up better. So we use the copper wire to make these pet pendants, and they are just like a keychain, but instead of putting keys on it, you put it on their collar just like you would a tag.
Mm-hmm. And it's okay if they chew on it?
Well, first off, if it's on their neck, they can't chew on it. But what happens is they'll go after a flea or something, and they have pulled them apart. Nobody's gotten hurt. There should be no reason to worry about that at all. But they pulled them apart enough so that the shungite fell out of them. We replace those. We've learned to try to make them a little more rugged so that it's very difficult to do that. The other thing they can do is that they can actually get a hold of them and pull them right out of the keychain thing. You know, they just straighten it out, and that we've pretty much eliminated by making sure that the way you wrap them, you know, kind of helps you get away from that.
Right. Well, what about brushing your teeth with powdered shungite? I suspect that might be beneficial.
No, I wouldn't, because
black teeth.
Black teeth. Black teeth. Let me tell you, my partner's daughter, she's pretty gifted, and she decided that she was going to take her tattoo thing that was like a stencil, and then they put some glue and they put glitter on it. You know, this temporary tattoo thing. She decided she was going to mix shungite in with this stuff. Well, they can't get the tattoo off. The shungite stained their skin. They're all walking around with these butterflies and.
Well, how long does it take to wash off?
I don't know. They can't get it off.
Oh, jeez.
They've had it on for over 10 days now, and they were rubbing it. You know, it's like it's stained. It actually stained their skin.
Wow, that's pretty wild. So it sounds like it does. Go ahead.
Well, you asked me about eating it. Yes, right. I know people that are eating it. I'm not telling you to eat it or not, but I will tell you that the Russians have used it in chicken feed and other livestock feed, and found that the animals live twice as long in perfect health.
That's awesome. Wow. And you said it doesn't have to be cleared, which is really nice, and there are no harmful reactions to shungite?
None.
That's wonderful. Wow. So what's down the road? I mean, you're working on, you have that current device. What's coming down the pike insofar as any new inventions?
Walt is always making new inventions. I never know what he's going to make next. We do have the like I say, the Bucky Band-Aid that is the one that we're concentrating on right now. The other one where we're putting in the energies, that's called a reality dialer. Nice. And
I like the name. Sounds like Doctor Who.
Well, we got time. I'll tell you the story. So I meet up with Walt because he's listened to us, and he did a post, and he had already created the resonator. Now the resonator is got two spirals in it, and if you attach it to your electromagnetic, the electric line going into your smart meter, you'll completely attenuate the stuff going into the house, including the smart meter. So I asked him to do a journey for me because I had been contacted by people concerned with the problem of the Gulf of Mexico, and could shungite help? And so I said, I actually thought I had a device, and then I realized the device was not going to work. It was not strong enough. So I asked him to do a shamanistic journey and come back with what we needed. And so he does, and we make them, but when he when he came back, he also had this image in his head of this thing he called the reality dialer. And he says to me on live, we were doing a show, and he said, I was going to make it, but I got afraid. And I said, oh, for crying out loud, just make it, Right. And he says, well, you're the only one that can operate it. And I said, stop making it. He says, well, it's too late. I already did. It'll be in your house 2 days from now. And
great.
So I get this reality dialer. I don't know. It's based on radionics, and it's really interesting because it made me understand radionics. Do you know about...
I love radionics. Yeah.
Okay. So for those that don't, it's a box that's got a witness in it, and the witness thing is one part of the circuit that you're going to put a picture of somebody or a piece of tree that might be having a problem or whatever, but that's your witness. Then it goes through a circuit of dials, and the dials are there to kind of like give a certain dampering to the system so that when you're got your hand on this thing called a stick plate, that when you rub your thumb on it, when your thumb basically sticks to the plate, you know that's the frequency of what's in the witness. Did I cover that pretty good?
Yes, you did. Very good.
Okay.
And also, I mean, yeah, they've used DNA and hair before for that too, for broadcasting.
Right.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
So this particular one, instead of the human being part of the circuit, there's a shungite circuit in it. So all the human being is doing is turning the dials.
Nice.
Okay. So, I mean, they're part of the circuit in that they have to know where the dials are. Mm-hmm. But it's a little bit different because you can walk away from it.
Nice.
And the thing is tied into a computer system. I didn't even know. This all sounds crazy, but I swear it's all the way it happened. I had a whole bunch of crystals, and I mean, you name it, it was there. It's on a pile on a slab of quartz crystals that are a flat piece, big flat piece. I mean, I used to be in the business, so I had some sweet pieces. And as soon as I get this reality dialer in, I realized that thing is somehow tied to this thing because it's like it's a computer system. Mm-hmm. And we know, I'm assuming it's already been done. When I got out of the military back in the 70s, I was already being told that they were developing computer systems based on crystals. Mm-hmm. So it didn't really surprise me. But the other part of this thing is the fact that every single one of the spirals that we put in there and then tune, okay, is being projected into a thing called the cube. Mm-hmm. And the cube is basically an interface between that system, the 3D reality, and we think the sixth dimension.
Nice. Doctor Who.
Yeah, but anyway, so when you plug all these energies in, then this new timeline, this new reality is started up, and it's running right beside the one we were on, okay? But what's happening is that the new reality is picking up more and more momentum, and as it picks up more and more momentum, it's starting to separate from the old one.
Right. Is that frequency? Is the momentum?
It's all frequency. Yeah. You're creating another frequency path.
Nice. Oh, that's cool. Is he selling those radionics boxes by chance?
No.
No.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, if you want to ask him sometime, let me know. I wouldn't mind having one of those. And there is another question for you. Let's see here. We have Casey. Let's see. Have you ever put, I think they're trying to say colloidal silver.
Yes. And that's just stranger than strange.
Yep.
If you take shungite and you drop it in a vial of the silver, the colloidal silver, the shungite absorbs it all right out of the solution, and you can't. It's not an exterior thing. You can't rub it off. You can't even chip it off. It's been absorbed. The only thing that we know that it gets absorbed right into the shungite itself. But we kind of, I already knew this. He did the experiment, but I already knew this because when I first started wrapping shungite, I was using silver, and it would take the silver coating right off of it and leave the copper. It was it right off of the wire. Never saw anything like this before.
That's interesting. Why do you think it does that?
I would have to ask about that.
Mm-hmm. I was just curious. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Because nobody's going to have the answer on this side. I'd have to think about it.
Right. Yeah. Let me know if you ever figure it out.
If I get the download, I will definitely tell you what it is.
Yeah. Cool. Do you get downloads a lot?
All the time.
Yeah. Excellent. Very cool. Well, so are you going to be doing any lectures or radio shows?
Yeah, I do Cosmic Reality, the show, on Wolf Spirit and radio.com. And I do that. Well, we were doing 9 to 11, but I think we're going to start up at 4 to 6 on Tuesdays.
Oh, cool. Excellent.
That's Eastern Standard Time.
4 to 6. Cool. Oh, we're dueling. I have my show on hyperspace in that window. Damn, I tune into you. But yeah, very cool. And let's see here. And also, so you do you're basically, you do the radio show, but do you ever do any workshops?
No, the other radio show I have is once a month I do the Odd Collective show, and that again is at 4 to 6, but it's on Sundays. And that show is fun because I try to get people that really don't have a voice on to do interviews, people, just regular people, because the regular people are the ones where all the power is.
Right. Well, that makes sense to me. We're getting ready to wrap this up. I can't believe it went so fast, Nancy. It's been so awesome to have you on. Yeah. I want to have you back, and it's an honor. So thank you for joining us tonight, for sure. And once again, it's just been wonderful. You're just incredible. And please let everybody know once again your website and how they can access all the Shungite and everything else.
CosmicReality.net. You'll see a tab that says Shungite Store. Go in there. You can buy anything that's there. But also Wolf Spirit. If you go over to the Wolf Spirit tab, you're going to see all the audio shows that we've had on Shungite and Cosmic Reality, other subjects too. And also there's a Shungite information, and that's got a blog and a lot of links to other places. So if you want to know about Shungite, I guarantee you that is the place to go.
Excellent. Fabulous. And also, please stay tuned for Shiny Side Out with David Dunder and Mickey coming up next to sail you in tonight from Down Under, of course. They have a fabulous show. And I guess we have a few minutes here, so I'm going to ask you a few questions. So what do you think is going on insofar as what's your impression of America right now in this timeline? Do you think that we can actually change the whole dynamic?
Well, we're making a new reality, so I don't care what's happening in that reality.
Okay, so you don't even tune into that. You just keep manifesting?
That's my job.
Excellent. So when you manifest, do you set the intent? Do you have a certain design work you want to create, or are you just allowing Gaia to take the helm on that?
The only thing that we try to focus on is the energies. So I just want to feel joy and love and compassion and empathy, and I want everybody to be empowered. That's the energies. I work on the energies, not the design. The design is, I don't care what it looks like, as long as we have these perfect energies.
Right. And what about the oceans right now, which seem to be, I don't want to say dying, but they are suffering to some degree? Is there anything that the Shungite can do to alter that?
Again, on our reality, everything is fine. I am in communication with the dolphins and the mermaids. They understand this much more than most humans do. And we did energy work, and that energy work taught us a tremendous amount, particularly the fact that why are we trying to fight every single lake, stream, and everything else when we can just create a new world. And also, if anybody is familiar with, Dolores Cannon. If anybody's read Dolores Cannon, a lot of what she said just, falls into what we're doing. And she asked, what is the purpose of human beings? And the response was to understand the manipulation of energy. And the manipulation of energy is called magic.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense. And it's interesting because with my ascension work and background, we've always been taught to see everything as fully ascended and healed. So that kind of makes that signature, I guess, to some degree, is letting go of the illusion, I guess, what we're seeing from day to day, the false matrix, and embracing that.
Exactly. And the real key is keeping your mind very focused on what's good, not what's bad.
Exactly.
Turn off the televisions. I turned my television off. I used to watch it 80% of the time. It was news all day long. There wasn't anything I didn't know what was happening. I was continually looking at the news. Now I don't even know. I mean, if something happened, I wouldn't know about it unless somebody tapped me on the shoulder.
I don't own a TV either, so my computer is my window to the world. And
exactly.
Yeah, that's hardcore enough. So let's see here. I think we're almost ready to get out of here, but I want to ask you one more thing. For someone who wants to shield their homes from damaging electromagnetic waves or any type of dirty electricity, what we've been talking about, Wi-Fi, obviously the Shungite is probably the best solution for now.
It's the only solution in that it makes it healing. If you go on Wolf Spirit and you go to the Cosmic Reality section, that one, there's a tape from an electromagnetic energy from a friend of mine that was diagnosed with poisoning, and he tells you exactly what you have to do in the 3D world to shield yourself. Or you go get a Bucky bag of shungite and put it on your router system, and you'll have done the same thing.
That's awesome. This is fabulous information. So I hope everybody takes advantage of that on your website and starts purchasing the shungite for sure. And have you had any feedback from cancer patients or radiation treatment or anything like that?
No, but I haven't really run into it. Mm-hmm. We have had a lot of really kind of miraculous things, like people that had all sorts of diseases and were housebound for years, mm-hmm. just changing the environment with shungite and ending up firing all their doctors. There have been definite healing situations that have been reported.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Nancy, and thank you everybody for tuning in. Everybody have a wonderful week. Thank you again, Nancy.
Thank you.
What an honor. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Revolution